Hi, everyone. Hoping that you all are well. Thank you for joining us for this discussion. This is Dr. Tracy McCarthy. We're going to be addressing the deity known as Ogun and the relationship between Ogun and Edom or Esau. Now, before we get into this relationship between Ogun and Esau, Edom, we're just going to do a little background on Ogun so that you can be brought up to speed about the essence of Ogun before we make this correlation here. And so if you look on the right side of the screen, you see this African deity understood as Gu, and this is Gu. You also have the alternative, which is Gun, which is Gun. And this image of Gun is the god of iron and war. And this entity is associated with the Fon people, the Yoruba people, people of Dahomey, Benin, Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, and in the Americas. And so this entity is understood as the god of both war and iron. Additional narrative indicates that Ogun is a warrior god and is associated with primitive force and energy, but primarily associated with this idea of iron and associated with the Iron Age civilizations in Nigeria and adjacent countries. Now, this is interesting because iron is not a primary product coming out of Nigeria or even Africa. However, it is a primary commodity coming out of a related geopolitical space known as Brazil. In fact, the name Brazil, if you recall an earlier discussion, essentially means iron. An additional narrative indicates that Ogun has a couple of names, and one is Ogun, and then you have Ogun and an additional name, which is Onire. And according to the narrative, Ogun had been given the secret of iron from the son of Olorun. And according to the narrative, Ogun went on to show this secret of iron with the other gods and with humans. And he showed them how to make weapons out of iron. Now, many people may recall this story because it is related to the deity known as Asahel. Now, in the narrative about the origin of Ogun, you find Ogun described as a very ruthless, wrath-filled deity. And you also find an indication that Ogun was identified as the king of a land known as IRE. And so Ogun became the lord of IRE. Now, what's interesting about this is you sometimes see the IRE spelled with the IRE, and then alternately you will see the ERI, and this is synonymous with the treatment of the name Ireland. And so here you have Ogun being described as this deity that is full of wrath, full of rage and violence. And the name or the word ire translates to anger, wrath, violence, bane, deception, error, ruin, destruction. And so essentially, you have a deity that is understood as the king of destruction, the king of wrath, the lord of violence, the lord of brutality. And not only that, you have the same association with the land known as Ireland. And this might easily escape you because you sometimes see those letters transposed. And so you'll see Erie or you'll see IRE instead of IRE. So what you have here already is this connection between Ogun and Ireland. Just in this name, IRE, in this word, IRE, and in the alternative, Erie, the ERI. And what you see here is Ogun is not just the name of a deity. Ogun is a family name with a family history, a coat of arms, and all of that. And so this name is rooted in Scotland and Ireland, and so it has Gaelic roots. This name, however, is obscured because of the dynamic of C and G sometimes being interchangeable. And so you may see a name that has a G, but alternately the C might be in place. And so what you have with Ogun, interestingly, is this name is essentially Adam, Adam and kin. And so all of the variants of Ogun are simply diminutives of Adam. And as odd as it might seem, you see it manifesting in names like Akin or Atkin. And so that you can see this translation clearly, you have Ogun translating, interestingly, to Adam, and kin, kin with K-I-N, meaning relations, relatives, family. And of course, that translates to Edom and kin. And here you can see that variant that you typically see with Irish names with the O apostrophe G-U-N, which is basically of goon. And even with this apostrophe, you see that the name and all of its variants are double diminutives of Adam. And so to reiterate what was already stated with respect to the OGUN without the apostrophe, you will see this name manifested not only in Adam, but in Atkin or Atkins or Akin. And if you look at the records, you will be able to see the migration of this name from the East into the West, into the Americas. And what's also notable is the fact that the motto for Ogun is strength and vigilance, and both of these go right along with this construct of iron. Interestingly, not only do you have Ogun being correlated with Adam, Edom, you also have Ogun being correlated with the name Esau. If you recall from our earlier commentary, Ogun is correlated with another deity, Asahel, with respect to metallurgy and teaching humanity, according to the narrative, how to engage in metallurgy, how to make weapons, and how to wage war. Now, what's interesting about the name Asahel is that it has the same root as Esau. And the name Esau is going to relate you right back to the root of Asahel, which is the Asa or the Asa. And so when you look in Strong's Concordance even, you see the name Asahel as right before Esau. So at 6214, you will see Asahel, or some people say Asael, but this spelling actually has the H. And then right after it, you see Esau. And the root is associated with this idea of constructing or making or doing. Even when you look at the anglicized version of the root of Ogun, you see this dynamic GUN that relates to war and battle and weapons. And so we've talked about this before, but this is a perfect time to address it again. So not only do you have this name Ogun being associated with Scotland and Ireland, in addition to this name being a deity for those on the west coast of Africa, you have individuals in Nigeria primarily sporting the tartan. And so you see them in kilts, you see them playing the bagpipes. And so what we have here when we wrap this all together is Ogun, a deity, Asael, a deity, are actually deified forms of Esau, Edom. And so you have this form of ancestor worship that is going on without it being called such. And so now you have Esau taking on a totally different identity. And so no longer is Esau simply the brother of this person named Jacob. Esau has been elevated to deity status, to a God status. And so Esau is no longer seen as someone who was mortal, someone who was human. Esau has taken on another form. And not only has Esau taken on another form, Esau has taken on, or has been given, a form where Esau is not an instrument of positivity. Esau has been now associated with or deified as an instrument of destruction. He is the king of destruction. He is the Lord of ruin. And so he has a totally different identity based upon this deified status and this ancestor worship that is going on. And to take it a step further, because you have Esau now associated with or understood essentially as the Lord of Iron, you have Esau now being understood as the god of oppression, because iron is also associated with shackles. Iron is associated with oppression. And so even if you take this back to the biblical narrative, you now have Esau situated, again, not as a mere human being, but as a very specific deity, and a deity that is focused on ruin and destruction and violence. As we wrap this up, so we have Esau, Edom associated with or represented as Asahel. We also have Esau, Edom represented as Ogun. Additionally, we have Esau, Edom represented as the rooster. And this rooster is a part of the heraldry for Ogun. This, of course, harkens to Rome and the Holy Roman Empire, because you also see this rooster as a part of the heraldry for many Germanic people. As many people are examining a number of related topics, hopefully this provided some insight to further assist you with your research. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care. See you soon.